Your desire has to be stronger than the challenge you're overcoming. But as simple as it is crucial to understand that idea. Until your desire is strong enough, you're not going to put in the effort to overcome it.
Hey, champions, welcome to another training that we're brought to you by Champion Circle. Champion Circle is where business owners and leaders come together to accelerate their growth through accountability and meaningful connections. With exclusive memberships, you'll gain access to monthly roundtables and personal coaching, all designed to help you achieve your goals and foster valuable relationships. Champion Circle isn't just a community, it's a movement to empower entrepreneurs to lead with purpose and results. Learn more about how you can succeed by visiting mychampioncircle.com. Be the champion you were meant to be. I'm excited to be the host for this training today. I'm William Blake, and we are going into, as we did this last year, Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, his 13 principles as we go into these 12 months. And obviously, the very first principle that we are going into is desire. Very first one, because desire starts it all. And we have three wonderful speakers lined up today. We have Ian Stermer to start us out with, and I have the pleasure to go second, and then we'll end with the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. Jon Kovach Jr. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. So I'm going to turn the time over to Mr. Ian Stermer to talk to us first about and train us on the principle of desire.
Thank you, William. So I was laying in bed this morning, and I was just kind of enjoying the warmth of the mattress, the blankets, the comfortable pillow. And I really had a desire to just lay there and enjoy that. But my body started to develop another desire, which conflicted with that. And that was a desire to get up and pee. And I laid in bed debating these two desires. I desire to just lay here, but I kind of desire to get up and go to the bathroom as well. And before too long, that desire to get up and go to the bathroom began to outweigh my desire to lay in the bed. So I got up. In life, we always have desires. We have conflicting desires. We desire different things that are going to require a sacrifice on one side or another. But in Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill starts out with that idea of desire, because that's the foundation of everything we're doing. If we don't have something we want, we're not going to do it. It's really just as simple as that. In Utah, there's a summer camp for kids called Camp You Gotta Wanna. And I love that name. You gotta wanna, or else you're just not going to do it. It really is that simple. But like I said, we have a lot of things we want that conflict with something else, quite often with apathy. We want to sit, we want to rest, we want to watch TV, we want to see who wins Survivor or who really does have the most talents in America. Those easy things. And then we have desires innate within us to succeed, to learn, to grow, the things that actually take some work. So with a desire, how do we reconcile those two conflicting ones? In the end, we need to have a stronger desire to achieve something than that desire to stay where we are, or that desire, that challenge we need to overcome, I should say. Now, that's a ridiculously simple statement to make, that your desire has to be stronger than the challenge you're overcoming. But as simple as it is crucial to understand that idea. Until your desire is strong enough, you're not going to put in the effort to overcome it. Now, an example of that is my father. He was a smoker through most of his early life, and smoking is extremely addictive. He tried to quit several times and just failed and went back to smoking again. Now, I grew up way in the countryside, upstate New York. And when I was a baby, there was a very heavy snowstorm. And my dad looked out at this snowstorm, and the roads were too deep to be plowed for a little bit. And he got thinking that if he couldn't get out to get to the store, to get the formula that I needed, I, as a baby, could die. And then he thought if he ran out of cigarettes, he would have put on his boots and started trudging down to that store. And it hit him at that point that his priorities were off. If he could imagine his son dying because he couldn't get to the store, but yet he would go out and risk his life to get those cigarettes. And with that shift in his mindset, his desire to quit smoking, to not be in that situation, became so much stronger than his desire to smoke and have a cigarette. So, understanding where our desires lie and what the true thing that we want is helps us achieve that. You got to wanna have that desire strong enough to overcome the obstacles, to overcome the challenges, to overcome the apathy that comes in it. And the first step in understanding or growing that desire within you is to understand why you have that desire. What is it you're really looking for? So for my dad, it wasn't so much that he was looking to quit smoking, but he was looking to be the kind of person who put his family first instead of his own desire or addictions. And once he had that understanding, he could move forward and get the strength for it. So that why is going to be different for each of us. You know, as a teenager, I wanted a car. But when I thought about why do I want a car, was it for status? Was it for freedom to move around? Was it to get the girl? Yes, it was to get the girl. And no, I didn't get her, but I did get a car. So it was good enough there. But understand that desire. I got a job to work because I had a desire to get a car. And I could build them that way. But without that desire, without that need, I would have just sat at home and really not done anything. So building your desire, understanding your why, and then keeping it top of mind, because I know I'm distracted by shiny objects all the time. Yes, I set this great goal, but wait, this is a great goal too. Oh, I should go work on that one. So keeping these things top of mind is going to help us strengthen that desire. So I would say plaster your desire everywhere. Put posters on your wall. Make it your phone screensaver. Write it on the mirror when you brush your teeth. Put it in your wallet. Recite it every day. Make vision boards. Do affirmations. All of these things that we all kind of know. But as we do those, that's going to build that desire. It's going to build it so strong that it just burns within us. And it's going to be so strong that we have no other alternative but to go out and achieve this because we want it so much. Just like I really had no alternative this morning but to get up and go to the bathroom because that desire became so strong, it overcame everything else. Okay, I wasn't really that desperate. But as we build our desires, that's the key. Understand what you want. Understand why you want that. And then build it, feed it until it becomes a burning, raging fire within you that you have no alternative, no other option because you want that so bad. You're not distracted. You're not giving up. You understand that that's your desire. And that's the foundation of everything that we want to do. If you don't want it, you're not going to go get it. It's as simple as that. Your desire has to become stronger than the obstacles and challenges and apathy that you're overcoming to achieve it. And you have that desire or that ability to create that desire within yourself. So I'll close with that. Thank you and turn the time back over to Mr. Blake.
Thank you, Ian, for your training on desire. It's truly comes down to so many different things, but when it comes down to the raw form of it, it's the first step into getting any goal that you're wanting to achieve. So thank you so much for your training. Now I have the privilege to be able to share with you some of my thoughts, my experiences, and the things I've gone in my life to be able to share with you in a training on the topic of desire. What if I told you that the only thing between you and the results that you want is a burning desire? I remember several years back, I was sitting in a chair, black suit on, had a red tie, tried to be the powerhouse. But as I looked around, I saw business individuals, some wearing suits, some wearing just jeans, khakis, and a shirt. But as I looked around, I felt overwhelmed that I did not fit in this room. And it brought up these feelings from my entire life, ever since I was first diagnosed with dyslexia, that I just do not fit in the room. Back in that first grade when I first got diagnosed, I thought it was just another thing that was happening. Another thing that school said that I could just bypass and still remain friends with people, still have fun. But I didn't know the toll it was going to take. As I went through elementary school, I was going every Friday, the last hour of the day, I'd go to a special class to where we'd read and write and learn and get candy and prizes. It was one of the coolest classes. But I didn't realize is that every time I came back, all my friends were talking behind me, asking why I was going to a separate class, why I was in the special course, and what was making Willie different. And I continued into middle school to where I had to meet with every single one of my teachers before school even started to set up a plan in case I needed extra time when it came to tests or assignments. Then I went into high school to where I was walking with my friends down the hall. And as we were walking there after lunch, they would go into the classroom and I'd stand there looking in, wishing to go in. But it was an honors writing class. And for someone who struggled a lot with reading and writing and speaking and spelling, that class always seemed out of hand. And so I'd walk down a few more doors to my reading class, to which there are kids in there who didn't want to be involved in school, didn't give much of a care to what was going on. And I felt out of place. And it continued on even up to this moment where I'm sitting in that chair. I have my suit on, I have my red tie to where I feel out of place in this room. But I look forward and I see a friend of mine who's up there, who's hosting this big event that's happening. And as I sat there, he asked a question and I raised my hand. The first question I asked at the very beginning was, what if the only thing between who you are and who you want to be is a burning desire? I could tell you that when it comes down to desire, which Napoleon Hill in his Think and Grow Rich book and his 13 principles highlights as the very first step, that desire for me wanting to be more, from me looking back into elementary school, middle school, and high school and thinking, what if I can do more? What if I'm more than just this reading challenge, this writing difficulty? What if I'm more than just this speaking impediment? What if I want to do more? And so I started to look for more things. I started to talk with individuals. I realized that dyslexia had such an advantage to it with out of the box thinking and empathy and communication, as well as different perspective and patterns that go on. It's one of the coolest things that I have that I call a superpower. And now I've created a business based off of that to help teach dyslexics how to thrive in their career and personal life. And that all started from that moment in that event where my friend asked the question of who's ready to show up for their life. And I raised my hand because I simply had a desire, a simple desire to be more than I was. And so from there, it's been several years since then, and I've grown up with that friend, such a dear friend of mine, as well as have met so many other cool people. And as my inner circle grows and continues to up their standards as well as up my own, I have found that when it comes to desire, there's two things that are present that are needed to go from where you are to where you want to go. And the first one is your why, and the second one is the action to get to where you want to go. That first one with why. Evan Carmichael was one of my first mentors. He was a big YouTuber, is a big YouTuber, was one back in the day, and he came up with this 10 levels of success principles that he do for people like Tony Robbins and Oprah Winfrey and Lewis Howes and all these, and Grant Cardone, all these individuals. He came up with these 10 success principles for each of them that they would talk about. And as I found commonalities in it, I realized that the why is so important. And even Evan Carmichael wrote a book called Your One Word, to which I've adapted into myself, which is the one word why, which is taking your why and smushing it all the way down to a single word. For me, my word is light. And when I think of my desire, I've broken this into 5 different things when it comes to light. And I think the word's acronym. I'm going to say acronym, and I hope I'm right, but 5 different words to it. Number 1, L. L is for love. This is to be able to love yourself. This is to be able to love what you do and the love that you have for other people. This goes back to the heart, the very beginning of what creates a desire, the seed that is planted that we are able to then nourish. Number 2 is I, for inspire. This is taking that desire and starting to nurture it, starting to inspire others, inspire yourself to have mutual connections, be able to go out and share with other people, get perspectives, gain knowledge, gain experience, and most importantly, combine that into wisdom. It's to bring together the entirety of nurturing that seed. 3 is G, for gratitude. If I've learned anything, if you want to change your attitude, change your gratitude. And the way to have gratitude is to go from your mental state to a physical state. Anytime that I am in just a freaking bog and I got fog in my mind and I just can't think of the next steps I need to do, every single time I have done a gratitude exercise to where for 15 minutes, I will start with the letter A and I will say things that I'm grateful for. And I won't go to the next letter until I think of all the things I can. And for 15 minutes straight, I do that. And every single time I come out of it with clarity and with appreciation. Gratitude and anxiety can't live in the same room. If you are truly grateful, you can't be anxious. If you are anxious, you're not being grateful. They're 2 polar opposites. And I've learned that as I've wanted to have light in my life and share that with other people. And as they have had light in theirs, the ones that truly are living their lives are the ones that have gratitude. So with desire, if you have a desire to do something, appreciate what you have because you have a lot. The 4th one goes along with that, which is H, with his hope. This is hope for the future, hope that things are going to happen. If we're talking about desire, goodness gracious, we need hope that if we plant a seed in the ground, that it's going to grow into something. That if we start putting water on it and start nourishing it, making sure it has fertilizer and sunlight, making sure animals don't come over and eat it, we got to have the hope that it's eventually going to grow. So with that desire, that seed that we plant, we have hope for the future that as we do things, as we are consistent with what we're doing, that we'll be able to get that result that we want. And the last one is T, for time. And this plays into that consistent action when it comes to desire. Time is the only thing that we have. It's the only thing that we cannot get back. I can't tell you how many elderly individuals that I've met with where I've asked them, what do they regret? What do they wish they would have done? And they would have always have an answer. And the biggest thing is just, I wish I had more time. And so I had to add that in there because time is so important. And we use the time that we have right now because tomorrow we don't have today's time. And as the months go on, we don't know when our hourglass is going to clock out, but we're able to use today to move forward with what we desire. And so that's my acronym for light. Whenever I share that with people and we talk about desire, that's the beginning thing. Like, what do you love? What do you want to inspire people with? What thing do you already have in your life that instead of seeing it as a challenge, you need to be grateful for? And maybe it's actually a power and an advantage that you have that you just don't see. What is it something that you want to hope for? Are you wanting to be the next Tony Robbins? Are you wanting to make $10 million? Are you simply wanting to be around your kids more? Hope for the future and then take that time that you need to move forward. And with time, I have one thing that I always use whenever I get stuck with overthinking things and the hit analysis paralysis, which is what I call the 2% rule. And this is taking 2% action every single day to get to where you want to go. If your goal is 100%, 2% every day will get you there. And I can't tell you, every time that myself, as well as the clients that I've worked with, every time that we have done this, we have surpassed that 100%. But it's about the daily consistencies and not the big stuff, the small little actions that we do to get to that desired result that we want. And it can be super simple. This can simply be showing up to an event. It can simply be going on a date with your wife. It can simply be, like I did in my reading journey, going to a bookshelf, picking a single book. The smallest purple book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, was for me. Opening the book and reading chapter 1. The burning desire that we have within ourselves is the sole thing that's going to take us from where we are to where we want to go. And so I want to ask you, champions, what is that desire for you? What is that little kid inside of you saying, this is something that I have wanted my entire life? This would be so cool to have, and I would want it. What is that for you? And I challenge you to take that and then figure out what that next 2% step is right now where you're at. Next 2% action that you can take to get to where you're wanting to go, to hit that childhood dream, hit that goal, that vision, that finish line, that northern star that you were aiming for. I know that you can hit it. I've seen it multiple times with the people I've worked with, as well as with myself. But it's taking the daily consistent actions to truly envelop the desire that Napoleon Hill talks about in his book. Move forward with desire, have it burning within you, and you can't imagine. And actually, you actually can imagine exactly what you can get. So go take that action, and I can't wait to see what comes from it. I want to thank you guys for letting me share my experience with you on the topic of desire and the 13 principles that Napoleon Hill has. We're now going to transition to our final speaker, which is the founder of Champion Circle, Mr. Jon Kovach Jr., to share with us his experience, wisdom, and expertise on the principle of desire by Napoleon Hill. Jon, the time is yours.
Napoleon Hill said that desire is the starting point of all achievement. Well, I felt this early on in my track and field career. It was the indoor national championships for track and field, and I was on the 4x800 meter relay team, set from Fort Collins, Colorado, a little farm town at the time, to compete against the nation's greatest 4x800 meter relay runners. And this was no easy feat. We were going up against teams and athletes who were older than us, taller than us, stronger than us, just everything. But like every race, the gun goes off. And you have to trust that your training, that your belief, but that everything you've put in for this moment will come to fruition. As a team, the other 3 athletes and I had worked hard to get in shape during the off season, to work hard during the winter months, to become our best, our fastest, and to compete at the national level. The first runner went off with the gun. And for those who don't know, the 800 meters is a grueling race. You know that 100 meters is just a short dash. You know that the 200 meters is still something you can sprint. There are a few crazy people who run the 400 meter dash, which shout out to all my 400 meter runners. That's a full lap. And yes, you sprint it. And yes, there is passing out and puking at the end of that one. That's a whole another ball game. But the 800 meters is the sweet spot between the 400 one lap and the mile, which is 4 laps. It is 2 laps around the track. And they don't really tell you whether you should sprint it or pace it because you don't got time for either. You just got to give it your all. And so the first runner went off. And he is sprinting. He is giving it his best shot. And he puts us into a really great position. But when he passes the baton off to the next runner, the second runner on our team, we realized that we were completely up against all odds. The other runners and the other teams had stacked one of their best runners as their second runner to create distance with the other teams. It's a mental strategy. It works. And boy, did they pull ahead. We were merely in dead last place. And we were giving it our all, but we weren't doing a bad job. In fact, as I give this speech to you now, I'm keeping the story within the time frame of which it takes to run an 800-meter. He runs around, he does his best, actually clocks in at one of his fastest times recorded, and passes the baton off to the third runner, whose job, our goal, was to make up a difference. And while other teams had already stationed themselves way out up and ahead, our third runner was our second strongest runner, who made a lot of ground up for us, made their laps, and came around the final turn. And I could tell that I had quite the race ahead of me, because in just a few moments, I would be running all out to at least do us some justice, to bring us within closeness of this race. One runner goes by, two runner goes by, three runners go by. I'm waiting patiently, but just panicking for the baton to get to me. And finally, in last place, the baton is passed to me, and I turn on the jets. Now, I am one of the strongest runners on this team, but when you're the anchor, which means you're the fourth and final runner, it is your job to not only make up the ground lost, but it's to put yourself in finishing position. I made up a ton of ground, but passed nobody on my first lap. I just had to make up what was lost. And not even tracking my time, not even tracking my pace, I realized that I was going really fast. And the final lap came. And when you hit the final lap, they ring a bell. That means go all out, leave it all on the track. And my mind flashed to one thing and one thing only. It was, I came here to win. I came here to get on the podium. I arrived at this national championships to do something incredible, spectacular. And I was not going to get off this track until I did so. When my mind shifted to what I wanted, what I truly desired, everything else, including the pain that goes into running this crazy race, the frustration of where I was at, located place-wise on the track, and also everything else around me kind of turned to fuzz, because I focused on one thing. And when you zero in on that one thing, nothing stops you. So I sprinted. I turned on the jets. And there's something called a kick. And a kick is where you really turn it on and you forward motion into it. And I came around the first lap, and all of a sudden I passed three guys just instantly, just like I could not be stopped. Sonic the Hedgehog, just boom, vrooming through this. And one by one, I'm picking people away. And I saw my target, and my target was just feet, mere meters from the finish line. And I put on the jets. And in instances and moments later, I'm leaning across that finish line, and I hear our names, and we had podiumed. We had gotten in second place, which means we had taken the silver medal. We were the second fastest relay team in the nation. And this was a reminder to me that desire is the starting point of all achievements. In fact, Think and Grow Rich teaches us that it has made more millionaires than any other book in recorded history. So why don't we take its principles? Let me simplify it for you here, and let's make sure that today, you create the clearest desire that you need to win, to cross that finish line, and to become the champion that's within you. Step number one, and this is according to Napoleon Hill's keys to achieving it all. In fact, let's just double down on that. Napoleon Hill laid it out for us. Number one, write it down. Thoughts are things. That's what Bob Proctor used to say. The exact amount of money that you would like to achieve and you desire. Or if it's not a money goal, maybe it's something that you want to achieve or require, right? So write down the living result of what that goal is, or that you aspire to acquire. It's got to be an acquisition. You've got to own it. Otherwise, it's merely a wish. So again, write it down. Number 2 is set a date and a definite purpose. Napoleon Hill emphasized that you need to be definite in everything you do. Never, ever leave unfinished thoughts in the mind. You must envision you being in possession of the money or the goal. What does your life look like when you achieve that goal? Write it down, speak it out loud. Rinse, repeat, rinse, repeat. It really is that simple. And number 3, reverse engineer your plan. Pull up to the desired drive-through and place your order. I use this example all the time. When you go to your favorite place and drive-through, you always know exactly what you want, or after a little consideration of the menu, you know what you want. Very rarely do you leave the drive-through because you just throw up your hands and say, you know what, I didn't know. I couldn't figure it out. Very rarely does that happen, which is why the drive-through is such an effective tool. So pull up to the desired drive-through and place your order. Know exactly what you want. Now that you have in your mind and in possession of the goal that you've written down, you need to create the plan to achieve it. That plan is the necessary actions that you will use to accomplish this goal. Manifest it, affirm it, and repeat out loud every single day your full desire statement every time you get a chance to, so that it becomes a written, manifested desire. No one has ever stumbled upon a grand achievement and experienced the true value of winning unless they first desired it, unless they first dreamt it. Dreaming big is that piece. So this is why I created Champion Circle. Truly, it's a place to get organized and clear with your desires. Now that you know what you want, you envision what your life would look like as if you were in possession of that goal. Then take only the necessary actions that you will bring that goal, that desire, that mere opportunity to fruition. Just like Simon Sinek said, start with why. I implore you, I invite you, and I share that you need to start with desire. Dream bigger. Then follow this framework by Napoleon Hill and our Champion Circle framework to accelerate your results. My name is Jon Kovach Jr. I created Champion Circle so that you could also develop the champion mindset and become the greatest that you've ever been. And it's simple as writing it down, creating the plan, manifesting it every single day, and taking the necessary disciplined action to achieve and acquire your desire. And that I am grateful. And it's happened for me multiple times, time and time again. And here in our community and in our environments, we help you do that on repeat. And we create that sensibility of autopilot so that you too can become the champion you always desired. Thank you.
Appreciation for our founder, Jon Kovach, for sharing that with us. And with that ends our training. Each of you champions, always remember that as we go into desire and as we wrap up this, to always remember that start with that little seed. Start with your why and what you're aiming towards. And then just like we've said over these wonderful 3 speakers, write it down, create a plan, and then take the action that you need. If you're wanting to move forward with these principles, go ahead and check us out on our YouTube channel, which is My Champion Circle, as well as you can go to our website, mychampionsircle.com, and you'll be able to find a bunch of our links to our podcast, as well as our social medias, as well as our YouTube channel, and everything else going in the Champion Circle universe. Have the desire to move forward. Each of you champions are awesome. Thank you for watching this today. And just simply remember that it's just about writing it down, creating a plan, and then taking the action steps forward that are needed to be able to get to where you need to go. Champions, you are awesome. You have a great rest of your day.